Hello everyone. So in this video, we are going to discuss about URL, URI and URN. So this is one of the most heated topic among everyone, wherein they just confuse between these three things, which is URL, URI and URN. So perhaps you have an obvious question. Is there a difference among these three letters acronyms? And if so, what is the difference? So we'll get into a huge discussion of semantics. Here you can look at the source documents which are given by the W3C, which is the World Wide Web Consortium, or you can look at the documents given by the RFC libraries. So according to them, they have a pretty good article and white papers which clearly explains what is the difference between URL, URI and URN, but still a lot of people are still confused as the name sounds similar. All right, so as all of these three, that is the URL, URI and URN, has a U, which basically stands for uniform. So all of these three represents, in other words, relate to some type of network based resources. This could be a HTML static web page that is advertised to the world maybe, or it could be a PDF document that's hosted onto a Google Drive at some particular network. So any resource, we need some standard uniform way to refer the presence of that particular document or a discrete location of that particular resource. So it becomes important when, for instance, we are designing any particular application programming interface for a web application. So we need to be able to talk to a consistent language, for example, that we can do with the help of networking basically. And here we are going to understand what is the actual difference so that you will never get confused and never mix up between these three acronyms. So URL and URN are the subset of URI. You have to remember that always, or you can remember it the vice versa as well. URI is the superset of URL and URN. So URI, it is a designation given that serves as the generic way of representing or referencing a network-based resource. Now, here's the main deal. URI can take the form of the URN or a URL also, as it is the superset. But in URL, we specify a specific protocol to find a resource. We can give a protocol such as HTTP, FTP, or SMB, or anything like that, okay? So here URI is the generic identifier, okay, which is the implemented way that can take a form of a uniform resource name, that is the URN. Okay, but a URL is always a typical web address that is classified to find a resource over the web or over any particular network. So if you see onto the right hand side, we're going to take an example of a book. So any book contains an ISBN number. For instance, let's say there is a book which contains an ISBN number that is 1234. So you can identify that book based on the ISBN number, but it actually does not give you the exact representation of identification. For instance, if I take an example of my name. So let's say my name is Rohit Gautam and you want to find me and I stay in India. How are you going to find me? Possibly in my state itself, in Gujarat, there would be n numbers of Rohit Gautam who are living. So this is not actually the correct, or to be precise, a specific request to identify a particular resource. That is the most generic way. Similarly, in the URN, it is the most generic way again, but if I break it down to a little bit granular level, then at that particular time, you may identify Rohit Gautam based on his, let's say, social security number. Then you may be able to find, or you may be able to at least differentiate between who I am and other Rohit Gautam. All right. But in case you want to find me, then you can use my home address for, let's say, specific this particular state, city, and the society name or the floor name or the building name. So in the similar manner, for the URL, that is the Uniform Resource Locator, we specify if you want to find a file. So we specify using this particular protocol. So we can use HTTP, HTTPS, but always remember, I see a lot of people getting confused in the protocol. A URL does not only stick to HTTP or HTTPS. We can use any protocol that we want. For instance, FTP, SMB, etc. So host is the particular IP address, dir a virtual directory, and the actual resource that we want to see, that is demonstrated by the file name. All right. And this way you will be able to see, or you will be able to access the particular resource. All right, so I hope you guys understood what is the difference between a URL, URI, and URN. You have to remember that URI is the superset of URL and URN, and all the URLs are actually the URI, all the URN are again all the URI. But all the URI are not URL. So I hope you guys understood. Thank you.